Formula One returns to Japan earlier than usual this season, and following the summer break after China, all the teams are ready to push their development till the end of the year. Reports are that Ferrari have brought upgrades for both their factory team and their junior team Alfa Romeo, which should help them fight Audi down the straights. Meanwhile, Jaguar have brought further updates to their gearbox to stop any further doubts about their reliability, and look to be finding most of their time in the first sector, which could compromise them in the race. As for McLaren, they appear to be lost as to how to turn their fortunes around. Their car is still competitive in theory, but their race strategies and luck have been horrendous, matching those that they had in 2017 and 2018. With 7 rounds left in this season, it's all still to play for, however, in both championships, and every team wants to start this second half by hitting the ground running. Let's look now at the starting grid for the 2020 Japanese Grand Prix, and it is an Audi on pole once again, something we've seen less of this year compared to recent seasons, as Carlos Sainz goes 38 thousandths of a second quicker than the Haas of Nico Hülkenberg to grab that pole position on the front row of the grid. Then comes the Scuderia Ferrari car of Antonio Giovinazzi in third position, managing to go quicker than both of the Jaguars, with Stoffel Vandoorne managing to only go 39 thousandths of a second faster than aarava in qualifying to grab that fourth place position. Aarava grabbing fifth with an identical time set by Daniel Ricciardo in 6th position, but of course he did it later in the session. Then comes the other Audi car of Sergio Perez, 6 positions off of his teammate. Ditto for Romain Grosjean in the Haas, 6 positions off his teammate as well, both of them starting from the 4th row of the grid. Then comes the other Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel, also 6 positions off of his teammate in 9th position, and Kevin Magnussen in the other McLaren rounding out the top 10. Then comes the 2 Mercedes cars. It's all Mercedes on the 6th row, with Max Verstappen managing to go a little bit quicker than Pascal Wehrlein, just 16 one-thousandths of a second between them. Then comes Mick Schumacher in the Monster Rehab car, managing to go quicker than Pierre Gasly in the Red Bull, with their teammates starting just behind them. Sophia Flörsch from 15th position, and Nico Kari once again being out-qualified by his teammate will start from 16th position. Then it's all Alfa Romeo, or Ferrari B team as it were, with Leclerc managing to go better than Fuoco, about 4/10ths of a second, separating the Alfa Romeos down to the Renaults and the Williams, who will be the back markers. Valtteri Bottas leading that back marker charge from 19th position alongside Lando Norris in the Williams. Then comes the other Williams of Sergio Camara, and bringing up the rear of the grid is Esteban Ocon from 22nd and dead last.
What's going on, guys? aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 MyDriver career mode, episode number 9 today for season 6 at the Japanese Grand Prix. If you did miss episode number 8 at the Chinese Grand Prix, be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. Crucial stuff for the championship. My teammate Stoffel Vandoorne winning the Chinese Grand Prix. Really did a big number on the championship, and he's jumped up to 2nd place there, as you can see on the bottom right. So all to play for at the moment. He's really closing up, and he's been doing a better job than me, to be fair. I can't really say too much, so we need to try and step up today and see if we can beat him and obviously the drivers around us in this Grand Prix. Decent enough qualifying, but the Ferrari cars are looking decent as ever, and the Audi cars also with a bit of an upgrade this weekend. So we'll have our work cut out for us, but as usual, we'll try our best, basically. But we're here at the Japanese Grand Prix, quite weirdly, in the middle of the season, actually, and usually to the other seasons, the Japanese Grand Prix working out a different deal with Formula 1 to be in the slap bang in the middle of the championship. We did have the summer break after China, so we did have a few teams, as you saw in practice, bring some upgrades, so it should be a pretty tasty Grand Prix, and I think it's a pretty fitting place to kick off the second half of the season here, and it should be a pretty titanic scrap. So let's get straight into this as we go to 5 red lights for the Japanese Grand Prix, round number 9 of this season. 5 red lights are out, and we're underway here from P5 on the grid. Vandoorne with a very good getaway there on the right hand side, trying to overtake Nico Hülkenberg. Ricciardo has had a storming start on the right hand side, as well as Perez goes on the left hand side. We duck out of it because we're going to make some contact. There's been some way more contact between Perez and Giovinazzi there. Sainz has bolted out in first place. It looks like it's Hülkenberg in P2, then Stoffel Vandoorne. Ricciardo and Perez both jump me. Behind me, we've got Sebastian Vettel trying to overtake the second-hand car of Romain Grosjean. So we've had a very poor start, actually, into turn 1 in the second phase of the getaway, pretty much. Perez and Ricciardo able to jump me into turn 1. We're going to try and go around the outside of Sergio Perez. Not going to work up the hill. That's going to be a very tricky place to make a move, especially on heavy fuel. Up ahead is Carlos Sainz, followed by Nico Hulkenberg, as we mentioned. Giovinazzi in third place there. Vandoorne unable to make any moves there, and he stays in P4. But meanwhile, we're going to try and make a move down the inside of Sergio Perez to at least get 6th place back. We still need to try and chase after and get that P5 back from Daniel Ricciardo, but that's been a pretty poor start for us into turn 1. Obviously, we saw Perez coming up on the left-hand side. Didn't want to make any contact, so I kind of just backed out of that. Obviously, I am in the lead of the championship. I've got it all to lose, basically. So at this stage of the season, I know we've got a lot of rounds left, but I can't really be affording to stick my nose in there. And briefly, you saw there, that was Mick Schumacher overtaking Romain Grosjean into turn 1 in his monster rehab car at the beginning of lap 2. So decent move for him as we move now swiftly on through Spoon Corner at the end of lap 2. We're going to try and close up with Daniel Ricciardo. Use a bit of rich mix here down this back straight towards 130R. We should be able to get a good slipstream. Can we make a move into the inside of 130R? It's going to be very audacious here, but we're going to go for it side by side. We're going to have the ball to just keep our throttle in. Ricciardo backs out of it, and we're back up into P5. So we're essentially back where we started, where we were on the starting grid. But meanwhile, up ahead, Vandoorne is now chasing after Nico Hulkenberg. Giovinazzi looks like he's overtaken Hulkenberg in all of that, so he's now chasing after Carlos Sainz in second place. But here goes Vandoorne for third place down the inside of lap 3. This will be into turn 1. He goes a little bit wide, but he's fine, and he's got up into P3. Now we can maybe try and chase after Hulkenberg ourselves and overtake an overhead in the distance. It's Giovinazzi chasing down Carlos Sainz, but we're going to take a look at a replay of another fight between the other two Ferrari and Audi cars of Sebastian Vettel and Sergio Perez. This was behind us. You can see there we're overtaking Ricciardo, so this happened whilst we made that move. It was Vettel with a similar sort of move, really, down the inside of Sergio Perez, so kind of copycat move. He maybe saw me up ahead do the same move and fancied it himself, but now as we move back onto the live race action, you can see Giovinazzi and Sainz in a kind of world of their own there. Quite a big sizable gap to Stoffel Vandoorne, and Giovinazzi right on the gearbox of Sainz, so he's going to be trying to want to overtake him as fast as he can. But then we move down the order. It's all kind of stayed put with Vettel, then Sergio Perez. Behind Perez is then Mick Schumacher doing a fantastic job, as we saw earlier on, overtaking the Haas car of Romain Grosjean. Then up ahead is behind them is Kevin Magnussen, and then you've got Charles Leclerc in the first Alfa Romeo doing a fantastic job there so far in the Japanese Grand Prix. So obviously both Alfa Romeo and Ferrari seeing upgrades this weekend, so Leclerc using that to good measure. But anyway, we move on to lap 3 at the very end in the Spoon section. We're down to the inside of Nico Hulkenberg. We're going to try and overtake him. We've squeezed him out there, and he's gone wide, and so we're up into 4th place this will be. And then behind us, though, because Hulkenberg's been sent wide, he's actually going to be susceptible to these two cars. It's Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo either side. They're going to go 3 wide. That's not going to end well on 130. Oh, it's not ended well, and there's been a huge crash behind us, and I think it was Hulkenberg and Vettel. Yeah, Hulkenberg is out of the Grand Prix. I think Vettel maybe took him out in the middle of 130R. That was never going to end well. You just knew 3 cars going into 130R. There is no room for that because the corner basically pinches up, the track narrows up. So we're going to take a look at a replay here, and what goes on here into 130R. Oh, it actually looks like it was Ricciardo's fault there. You know, it looks like Hulkenberg got tapped by Ricciardo's rear end, and Vettel was pretty much a passenger in that crash. We look at a replay now on board with Sebastian Vettel, so this will confirm it to us. He does go for a very audacious move around the outside, and here, look, you can see the contact's not even made until Hulkenberg's already spinning to the right-hand side, so that's not actually Vettel's fault. I think it may be Daniel Ricciardo's fault because he goes to the left-hand side here, trying to overtake. Now, this will probably actually be the more dangerous place to be, really, down the inside. But look at this. He's not going to give any room. What on earth is Ricciardo doing? He's not giving any room to Hulkenberg, nor Vettel, obviously, subsequently. And now on board with Hulkenberg, we'll confirm that for you. As we go into 130R, just bang there, the McLaren hits the left-hand side of him, and he just sends Vettel wide with him, and then he spirals to the wall. Unfortunately for him, he has the tyre knocked off. Very fortunate for Vettel that he does not have his wheel or front wing come off. So Vettel's kind of very lucky in that instance, actually, that he's not out of the Grand Prix completely. But now we move back on to the live race action, and we move on to a lead change for the lead of the Grand Prix. It's Giovinazzi down the inside, and he's going to go side by side with Carlos Sainz through 130R. He makes the move, and so the Italian leads the Japanese Grand Prix from Carlos Sainz in 2nd place. Then you got 3rd place, still Stoffel Vandoorne and myself in 4th place on lap 4. At the end of lap 4, we're actually coming into the pit lane now, a scheduled pit stop, because my engineer was planning lap 4 from the very start, and I agree with him because I am getting held up a little bit in some little bit of turbulent air. Also, you can see there up ahead, Giovinazzi has also pit from the lead, so I think it's just correct to kind of follow him in. He's the race leader now. It makes sense just to follow that in. So we make the pit stop now onto a set of hard tyres this will be. So we're going to go very long now into this Grand Prix. At least I'm talking at least 10 laps into this Grand Prix to lap 14. Stretch these tyres out. I believe it looks like Sergio Perez is on the medium tyres, and I think I want to say Giovinazzi was on the soft tyres. So very, very different strategies going on, and that's the beauty obviously of the 3 tyre compounds. You get such a different mix of what's going on, but it does mean we're going to be very out of sync in this Grand Prix. We may find ourselves even leading the Grand Prix later on in the stint basically, but we'll be very out of sync because people have already made their second pit stop by that stage. But talking about Giovinazzi earlier with the soft tyres, here he goes, trying to overtake the traffic a little bit. Goes 3 wide from momentarily, trying to overtake the Renault car of Esteban Ocon, I think that was, and also the Williams car of Lando Norris, or maybe Santa Camara, I can't quite tell by the helmet quite here. And then later, further down on the circuit is the Mercedes car. I believe this is Pascal Wehrlein overtaking Sophia Flöscher, trying to overtake Sophia Flöscher at least, because he goes wide and Sophia comes back down the inside, re-overtakes her fellow German basically, and she keeps the position for now, so doing a pretty decent job there out in front, obviously not made a pit stop yet on the soft tyres, but now we're going to come out right behind Vandoorne into turn 1 on lap 6, so Vandoorne's made his pit stop. He's opted for a set of soft tyres, so the Jaguar team going very differently in terms of strategy. Obviously, his side of the garage has opted for the more aggressive strategy at the beginning. I'm opting for probably a set of soft tyres right at the end of the Grand Prix, so I'm hoping to be very punchy at the end of the race, but that may mean I'm a little bit slower right now. As you can see, Vandoorne does get some brilliant traction off that final corner compared to me, and here he goes. He's going to try and make a move on what is, I think, Pierre Gasly and one of the Renault cars down the inside of both of them. As Gasly goes wide, he's going to make a double overtake into turn 1. It's a fantastic move there for Vandoorne. Swoops down the inside of both of them. Now, can we try and make a similar move as Gasly? Oh, Gasly's made some contact there with Ocon. We've nipped down the inside. Very opportunistic move there, and we're back and we're up into P8, so that was very, very good. That was probably the ideal situation for me to just nip down the inside there, as Gasly did me a favour and kind of made some very odd contact there with Esteban Ocon in the Renault car. Obviously struggling this season for pure pace, but he's trying his best to get up the order and obviously doing well for himself if he's battling a Red Bull car. And then up ahead you can see this is Carlos Sainz trying to overtake the Williams car, stuck in a bit of traffic there, as we've seen so many times before this season. And then you got Giovinazzi, I think this is, trying to overtake the Williams car there as we cut on now later towards 130. He's going to make the move pretty easily, and looks like, look at that, he's got the straight line speed. That Ferrari upgrade this weekend is working, an absolute treat there for the Italian, and he's looking very comfortable at what should be the net race lead as we move on through the laps of the Grand Prix. I'm still trying to chase down Vandoorne, but we're being closed down by Perez. But meanwhile, that was Ricciardo making a move on one of the Renault cars. Similarly, also the Haas car of, I think that is Romain Grosjean. Yes, it is, making the move on the Renault car, as well as Kevin Magnussen trying to get down the inside at the chicane. Doesn't work out, so you're going to have to try and go around the outside. But at the same time, he's got Charles Leclerc also maybe trying to overtake him. They're having a look down the inside of the final corner. Now down the main straight, he's going to open DRS to the right hand side. Magnussen actually has DRS open as well, but the speed of that brand new Ferrari upgrade really helping Leclerc there down the inside of turn 1, but Magnussen not having any of it. He's going to try and keep it around the outside. The exit of the turn into the air section be very, very tricky, but they're going to keep it side by side through this entire time. Magnussen loses out in the second part of the corner eventually though, and Charles Leclerc will take the overtake move there. Up ahead you can see that is Sergio Perez still chasing myself down as we try and chase Vandoorne down eventually as we move on through the laps. We've got Daniel Ricciardo now finally closing up to Gasly. Obviously me and Vandoorne dispatched off pretty easily earlier on, but Ricciardo now goes down the inside of Gasly. Looks like there's a bit of contact there actually as Gasly, but dust was kicked up there as Ricciardo overtook him. And then subsequently later, the very next lap I think this will be, down the inside goes the Haas car of Romain Grosjean, or tries to go down the inside, unable to make the move so far there into the chicane. But now we move back to our fight. It's lap 10 right now, and Sergio Perez is rapidly closing us down here through Spoon. He's going to get a great exit off that corner, use the Audi engine to good effect. Looks like they've upgraded it a tiny bit this weekend perhaps, because he's got some great overspeed off that exit of the corner down towards 130. Oh, he's going to go down the inside. We tried to hang it around the outside. We may just do it. I think we have. Yes, we have. We've just about got ahead of Perez, still kept around the outside. That's a very difficult place to keep it around the outside, especially because it's very easy for the man on the inside to just squeeze you out there, as we saw with Ricciardo just earlier with Hülkenberg and Vettel. But now Perez through the final corner gets a great exit. Once again, all weekend I've been very, very poor, and per usual through that corner. I've had it so many times before. Season 5, Season 4, no different now in Season 6. But we're going to try and get some good speed in third gear, rev the engine out, get the grip round the outside into turn 1, and then into into turn 2, the S section here, trying to go around the outside. Perez goes side by side, just like Magnussen and Leclerc did. This time, though, we're still going side by side through this second phase of the S section. We'll have to try and give Perez the room, but we just about get it as we climb up the hill. We've got the move still. We'll go a little bit wide, though. We do hit the grass a tiny bit, so we have to go defensive on the left-hand side into the next corner, but we've got it for now, and we're going to keep that P2. And as I mentioned before, obviously we're going longer on the hard tyres. Same for Perez on the mediums, so that's why we're fighting for P2, because there's a lot of people that have already made a pit stop earlier on. As you can see in the background there's a Ferrari car overtaking. I think that may be Giovinazzi's. We do a switchback move to Sergio Perez through 130R, so he again fails to overtake us for a second time now in a row on lap 12 here through 130R. Once again, keeping that second place for now, continuing on hard tyres, and you can see behind us Sergio Perez into the pits there, and it was behind us, it was rapidly closing down. It was Daniel Ricciardo who's going to be overtaken here, and this is Antonio Giovinazzi who's already closing up to me, Ricciardo, and he's already made a second pit stop. So Giovinazzi in a world of his own right now in terms of pace. You can see Ricciardo's been squeezed out so much so that Romain Grosjean now is going to try and overtake him around the outside. They'll go side by side. Will Ricciardo be able to defend this? No, Grosjean gets a brilliant squirt of throttle to try and overtake the Australian. He has done so, but that was Giovinazzi there. You can see as we move back onto him, focusing on him as he closes us up. That's Giovinazzi, and he's already made a second pit stop, and he's already closing up to us. That's how much pace the Italian has right now in this upgraded Ferrari car. He's going so well, and into the next corner, I'm definitely not going as well. We've locked up there, gone a little bit wide. Had to really slow the car down to not put it in the gravel trap, and that means Giovinazzi goes down the inside very easily to the next corner, into the hairpin. He's up into second place already, and the man in first place, I believe, who is Carlos Sainz, is yet to pit in this Grand Prix for the second time running. So Giovinazzi really is controlling this race and is pretty much dominating this if it all kind of plans out for him, basically. And in stark contrast to his teammate, obviously, who was pretty much way down the order after that crash with Hulkenberg earlier. But as we move on now through the Grand Prix, this is our teammate Vandoorne down the order a little bit. He's already made his second pit stop, because remember, he did also, just like Giovinazzi, go on to a second set of soft tyres, so he has to make an overtake there on the Mercedes car there to effectively just kind of get rid of him, basically. The Mercedes car is not really fighting for actual position with Vandoorne, and meanwhile we eventually then finally come into the pit stop phases for our second pit stop now from the hard tyres. So we've done well to go that long, but the pace really was not very well. Those orange wool hard tyres are very bad tyres. They've just got no grip. They may be very durable, but they've just got no grip really, especially in the front end there. The front end just doesn't want to bite there. You get this whole sense of understeer the entire time you're on them. So we're onto the set of medium tyres coming out just behind Sergio Perez now. So Perez has effectively jumped us in the pit stops after making an earlier one from the medium tyres, but it's fine because now we're on mediums. We should be able to close up. He's on the soft tyres though, so he's leaving, it looks like, his hard tyres to the end of the Grand Prix, and we're going very aggressive with Sergio Perez, smashing our left front tyre against his front right, so getting very argy-bargy here with Sergio. Can we go down the inside towards 130R? Yes, we can. We just about make it, and we made that move, squeezed him out there, and we got the bit between our teeth to make that move, although we do lock up on CAD, and we go a little bit deep into that corner, so that was a little bit of a pull the collar moment there as we get it very hot and bothered into the chicane. That means Perez does get it back to us, so we have to try and re-overtake him here, so an absolute ding-dong scrap between myself and Sergio Perez. But can we get it back into turn one, going very aggressive down the gears? Perez goes wide, we go on the inside, nip it down the inside, and we're up into 12th place now. We can try and close up to the monster rehab car up ahead of Sophia Flores now as we move through into the S section, trying to finally get our kind of race back underway. We have to really make this medium stint count, because I think at the moment, from just the pace and the general feel on those hard tyres, I think we did lose a substantial amount of time in that stint. So I really need to get a move on here, get the hammer down, and really push hard on the medium tyres to gain back the time. And so we waste no time at all down the inside, locking up a tad a little bit, but it doesn't compromise us too much, and we squirt the throttle into the second part of the chicane. We're up into 11th place, overtaking Sophia pretty damn easily there, and we're up into what will be now P11 as we move on to lap 17. So 10 laps left in this Grand Prix. The Grand Prix's flown by there because there was quite a lot of dead air in those hard tyre stints where nothing much was happening. And so now we look back at our teammate Stoffel Vandoorne for the second time in this Grand Prix, and once again looking to overtake another Mercedes car. He actually finds himself in a Mercedes sandwich here at the moment on the hard tyres. Finally, he's opted for the hard tyres, so it looks like Vandoorne will be then going for, I think he's going to the end of this Grand Prix actually. He may be on the hard tyres now. He can definitely go to the end with 10 laps to go there, so he's really going long on those hards for at least 12 laps, and so he's overtaken the Mercedes car with ease though, and he'll try and close up then to the next Alfa Romeo car, who I think that was Fuoco. Both Alfa Romeo cars doing very well in this Grand Prix so far, just along with Giovinazzi, the one Ferrari car. I would say both Ferrari cars, but unfortunately we couldn't really see the true pace of Vettel after his little incident there. But now We're on to lap 19. You can see we're up into P2 now. Giovinazzi in first, Ricciardo third. So now pretty much this is a case of me judging what my pace is like. On to lap 20, you can see on the top left, the gap actually stays the same to Giovinazzi. So at the moment, he's matching me for pace on his hard tyres versus my medium tyres. But crucially, the gap to Ricciardo in third place is increasing. So relative to the rest of the field behind me, I am gaining some time. I'm getting away from building this gap effectively that I'll be losing when I make that final pit stop for the soft tyres, basically. But Giovinazzi up ahead looks like he's long and gone and dry. So very surprising, but quite amazing pace there from the Italian. But now on to lap 22, we close up to Seta Camara. He's got blue flags here, so hopefully he doesn't hold me up too much here. But he's the first car I've really seen in a while now for track action. But he gets very, very close to us there. That was really not the place to slow down there, right in the middle of that apex corner where you're going so fast into the hairpin then to start the braking zone. So not a very clever place for him, but he was the kind of first car I see in a while there on this medium stint. But you can see I do come in now for the box this lap with the engineer call there on lap 22 now. So that'll be 5 laps then on the soft tyres. Not too bad, that's decent. The soft tyres will just about wear out towards the end of that 5th lap there, so I can really push hard, get the hammer down now. As I said, I was gaining the gap to Ricciardo and effectively the rest of the cars behind Ricciardo. Now it's just a case of where we filter out, really. Hopefully some clean air, and hopefully at least somewhat near to where I thought I would be, around where my teammate was pretty much. I think that was my teammate Vandoorne that went through there. As we come out of the pits, it's Verstappen very, very close to our front left there. We go down the inside to re-overtake him there, as he did blast and overshoot himself into turn 1, and him and Roman Grosjean go side by side. Looks like Roman actually has the measure of Max there in the S section, and so Grosjean makes that overtake and keeps the what will be 10th place there behind us. But now you can see up ahead, it's Verline, then Stoffel Vandoorne in a bit of a train here behind, I think, one of the Monster Rehab cars of Mick Schumacher. So now is the time to really get the hammer down. We move on swiftly onto the end of lap 23 towards 130R, through 130R, towards the last chicane. There we go, down the inside, round the outside effectively of this chicane corner on Pascal Verline. We wasted no time at all. That was a very, very calculated move there on Verline, and we're up the order into P8. Yellow flags have been called out there. I think they're for up ahead of us, so we have to see what the incident that causes, but we're right behind Stoffel Vandoorne now, so we're getting the pace on. We've got plenty of rich mix to use, but into turn 1, we've got way more yellow flags. A bit of a trade for. We go around the outside of Vandoorne, but yellow flags means that I cannot overtake Vandoorne for now. It goes green again, so kind of checkerboarding with green and yellow. It looks like there's a car there. I can't quite see who it is, but there's a massive train now, and I think that there's definitely a car there holding us up, and I think it is going to be Daniel Ricciardo, because we look at a replay now, and if you listen carefully, I think there's a puncture there for Ricciardo. I think he's got a left rear puncture, and so as you look on the replay now, off board, yeah, you can see there his left rear tyre flapping away, and I think now, devastatingly, he's held this entire train up. Look at this. We cut back onto lap 24. We're still P8, trying to overtake Vandoorne. We actually get a bit lucky here, and we get like literally a second of green flag, so I kind of cheekily nipped down the inside of Vandoorne there. Probably not the best sporting move there, but it was technically green flags then, so I did overtake him under greens. Then you can see it's still yellows, but because Ricciardo's going so slowly, the FIA just want us to kind of overtake him there, so we do overtake the Alfa Romeo Fuoco, but Fuoco does come back at us now towards 130R, as well as our teammate Stoffel Vandoorne, so we go 3 wide momentarily, but Fuoco and Vandoorne are both overtaking me through 130R. They go side by side. Vandoorne holding on around the outside, turning to the inside for the next corner. We lock a little bit. Fuoco goes way too deep into the chicane, so we go round the outside. He's given up the place to Vandoorne, and we get the place through the final corner now, and so now we have to try and maybe keep the position. He's going to have a good run through down this main pit straight. We squeeze him towards the wall a bit. We do have DRS actually with Rich Mix, but he's got some decent speed, but we do thankfully keep it into 5th place. And in all that madness, so I've actually only realised we're up into 5th place because some people have made their pit stop. So now me and Vandoorne now are fighting over what the 4th place there. I believe 3rd and 2nd are pretty much out of the question, with I think it's Carlos Sainz in 3rd, or maybe I think Mick Schumacher in 3rd place, but either way, Schumacher is really doing bits in this Grand Prix at the moment. I can't quite believe he's there. There he is, actually chasing down Carlos Sainz in 2nd place. Meanwhile, we're chasing down Stoffel Vandoorne, having a look in 130R. We'll try and make the move round the outside into chicane. We're going to brake a little bit early, but then we use that momentum to try and help us pinpoint the car through the middle of the chicane. We go round the outside. Vandoorne's got a better line, but we will get the traction now. We'll have DRS. He will not, I don't think, and so we'll get the slipstream. Here we go, in the toe, move to the outside of the circuit into turn 1. This should be a pretty damn easy move, to be fair. He goes round the outside. We're going to send him wide, and we go down the gears into turn 1, hit the apex pretty nicely, and we're up into 4th place there. But confirmation there in the top left, it is actually actually Mick Schumacher in third place, from Carlos Sainz then in second, and Antonio Giovinazzi leading the way still in first place. But anyway, on to lap 26 with only a lap and a half left to go. Vandoorne and myself go side by side once again through 130. Absolute ding-dong battle this is between the two teammates here. Obviously, myself and Stoffel are 1 and 2 in the championship so far, so this is actually quite crucial. This may turn out to be very crucial later on in the season, so I really need to make sure I do the work here at the moment. But so far, Vandoorne on the right-hand side is going to try and make the move to re-overtake for 4th place. Fuoco's also getting in the mix, as well as maybe Pascal Wehrlein there in the background on medium tyres in the Mercedes car. But we go side by side. Vandoorne's going to nip it down the inside. We've been sent wide there. We're actually pushed wide a little bit by Vandoorne, so a little bit of unfair action there, I feel. But Vandoorne's up into 4th place, and behind us, look at that, Wehrlein has got Fuoco. So Pascal Wehrlein doing a fantastic job there in what will be now 6th place, as well as teammate Max Verstappen is out of the points. So once again, Wehrlein kind of showing up his more kind of experience, I guess you could say, in world champion teammate from last year, 2019, reigning world champion. Wehrlein doing a fabulous job. And meanwhile, look at that, Antonio Giovinazzi with one of the most dominant wins this season so far, wins the Japanese Grand Prix for Scuderia Ferrari. It's going to be his 2nd win in the 2020 season. What a win that is for Antonio. What a dominant win. What a dominant win. He's like a whole half a lap ahead of everyone. That is absolutely insane pace there from the Italian in the Italian car. Crazy stuff. But now, there's no time to wait because we move back to our fight. We're still chasing Stoffel Vandoorne. This is the last lap of the Grand Prix. Can we do it? Do or die stuff, side by side through 130R. This is for 4th place and for the kind of lead, to keep the kind of lead in the championship, extend the points lead in the championship. Side by side, squeeze them out on the entry. We're on the inside, get the traction, climb up the gears. We're going to have DRS to get us across the line. We're going to actually run out of fuel on the line, but we will get 4th place there. Very hard-earned 4th place there against our teammate. Very hard fought, but there is your man, Antonio Giovinazzi, 2nd win of the season. Crazy pace today. I don't think anyone else deserved the win apart from him, because he showed just out of this world. Such utter dominance there. You can see in the standings, such a big gap there to the next car. 2nd place, Carlos Sainz ahead of Mick Schumacher, who gets a brilliant 3rd place there. But we've done well to get 4th place, and remember, we did have already a pretty good points lead in the championship to Vandoorne, and Vandoorne also had a good points gap to the cars behind him as well. And with Ricciardo way out of this Grand Prix, obviously, after the puncher he had, it actually means even though 4th place, we're way off first, we're still going to be very good in the championship. So far, we're still doing the job. Again, as I said, a really great job for Pascal Wehrlein there. Antonio Fuoco does amazingly in 7th place. I need to say, though, honourable mention to Charles Leclerc. He's in 11th place. He's got screwed over a little bit by strategy. At one point, he was running, pretty much fighting the McLarens and myself and Vandoorne there. So Charles got very unlucky to only get 11th place there in their Grand Prix, and hopefully the points will come for him soon. Romain Grosjean does well to get 8th place there. Vettel does well, I would say, to recover to 9th. He was at one point fighting for 4th or 5th. After that crash he had with Hulkenberg, I would say that's a pretty damn good drive to get points in this race, and Kevin Magnussen comes home for 10th place there. Guys, if you have enjoyed the episode, smash the like button. I haven't really said it or kind of requested it in any of the last few episodes, but it would be absolutely awesome. We're going to try and aim for 2,000 likes. We were able to do that in Season 5 for a lot of the episodes, try and get over 2,000 likes. We've been slacking a little bit in the last few episodes. It'd be absolutely awesome, guys, if you can try and do that. If we can try and get 2,000 likes on this episode, that'd be absolutely awesome. I do apologise for the episode being a little bit short. If you couldn't tell, actually, I've got a little bit of a sore throat following my little trip to Silverstone, so that didn't help things. So I had to kind of shorten the episode on purpose a little bit, so my throat just kind of didn't give out. But hopefully you still enjoyed it, and let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly form content. I've been Ever, home to the rest of the day, and I'll see you guys next time.
Pretty mixed bag of a race for you there, Arav, but you managed to just pip Stoffel, however, so you must be happy with that at least.
Yeah, ultimately, yeah, pretty happy with the race. I think we just didn't have the pace to really challenge really much for the podium. I think it was surprising to see Schumacher up there, but apart from that, I think definitely Antonio had it all race. You could see by his pace. I tried to maybe match him on the mediums, but he hit some lightning pace on the hard tyres. So yeah, ultimately, yeah, just very happy to beat Stoffel. Obviously, for the championship, that's really at the moment what matters to me, is we extend the lead there to him. Obviously, we lost some ground to Antonio and Carlos and also Mick technically, but you know, obviously they're a little bit further down. So for me, it is apparent time. It's just all about kind of focusing on Stoffel and Daniel, and we got, again, fortunate Daniel had a puncher, which just seems to be happening to McLaren lately, getting a lot of bad luck like they used to back in the day when Stoffel was actually at the team. So I guess if you asked him right now, he'd be pretty happy that he's with us at Jaguar. So Yeah, ultimately, yeah, decent race, especially after, obviously we talked about it in the last race. I had to kind of find myself a little bit in terms of, Stoffel definitely had the ground over me in the last couple of rounds during the race, so it's good for me mentally as well to just kind of beat him today in the race, yeah.
And did Giovinazzi's pace surprise you this afternoon? Does it allude to you and many other teams needing to do some homework for the next race?
Yeah, as I said, yeah, I tried to match him on the mediums, and he just blew me out of the water on the hard tires. So that was, yeah, a little bit shocking, yeah, really. Especially considering the Ferrari car beforehand was quite bad on its tires. So they've definitely done a lot of homework over the summer break, and we need to do the same now. It looks like, yeah, I think it does allude to we need to work on some things. I think also maybe it may have been also a little bit track dependent. I think, Gio went well here last season. This is where he won in the Red Bull car last year. So I also think I think he just finds the groove around this circuit compared to all of us. So at least that's what I'm hoping for, because if Ferrari turn up to the next race and they've got that sort of dominance and Sebastian doesn't have a problem, then we have issues, because they're going to close us up quite rapidly in the championship. So because there's still plenty of rounds left. So yeah, we need to work on it and kind of hope that maybe this was just a kind of one-off favourite for Antonio. But yeah, I think all of us, Jaguar, Audi, I think Haas are going to be ones to look out for. They're going to be quite disappointed, I think, because they're doing so well in qualifying. It just looks like they're kind of just going back in the race, which is almost like some of the issues that McLaren maybe had in the past, or in Mercedes in 2013. So yeah, I mean, there's going to be plenty of change, I think, and I think what this will do is just kind of be a wake-up call for a lot of us, for a lot of the teams. I think you're going to see maybe even more rapid development from team to team, perhaps. And teams like Monster Rehab and Alfa Romeo are looking pretty dangerous today, actually. Obviously, Mick got ahead of us. Crazy strategy, really, for him. If you look at his race times are actually really slow. So yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity for the small teams as well in the coming rounds. So yeah, it's going to be a pretty big kind of R&D scrap.
All right, thanks for your time.
All right, cheers, thanks.